Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear this Wednesday morning. Hope you all got dried out from the rain we had yesterday morning and all, but should be a good day today. It's going to be a high of 70 degrees and a low of 49. Actually, they already moved it up to 50, so it's going to be warming up again. Water temperature is hovering right around 70 degrees. So weather should be good the rest of this week. The river readings, take a look at the river readings. The Apalachicola up at Bluntstown, it's been high for weeks and weeks. 17.6 is reading this morning, but it will probably be going back up pretty soon. So just a strong, and this one right here, the Choctaw at Caryville, it's at 11.8. And we anticipate it going up again pretty soon too with all the rain we've had. We had a lot of rain yesterday, so 11.8 and 17.6. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. Looking on the screen there, we're looking at a high tide this morning at 10:59. We just say 11 o'clock a high tide and low tide at 8:48. And we got some good tides the rest of the week. Good strong tides, especially coming in Friday and Saturday. Good strong tides coming in here. Marine forecast be east-northeast about 10 to 15. So it's going to be a fair day, but just don't get out. Actually, already up to 10 to 20. So when they say anytime you see 20, you know it's going to be time to get off open water if you got a small boat. That's pretty strong out in open water. All right, let's take our first break, and we'll be right back with our special guest. Welcome back, and a familiar face to all you old-time viewers, Captain Roy Ray.
Hey, Coach, good to be with you this morning.
Well, this is like old times now. Glad to have you.
Yeah, it's a little older. That's about the only difference, Winston.
I told him I was going to introduce him. I'm going to blame him for getting me into television because I wouldn't be here today had it been for Roy Ray. So I don't know whether to thank him or blame him. At times, it's one of each. But Captain Roy, he's the one that really got me started in this. And we met years ago when I was doing the book and all, and got to visit with him, got to know he and his family, and we just became instant friends. And it's been a good time.
Been a long ride. You know, I guess there's something about doing outdoors and TV shows that's kind of catching, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I say all the time, I don't need to be doing this. But I've enjoyed the ride, Coach, and we enjoyed about 5 years together.
Yeah, it was about that. We came on. Our dates run. I was trying to figure out dates last night. I couldn't remember all the dates and all. But we started back though when interviewing you for the book and all. Come visit. This is one of the pictures. I got Captain Roy's in my book, and this is one of the pictures. One of my favorite pictures in the whole book. Ray's service station up there in West Bay. Tell us about this picture, Roy.
That looked like a family picture.
That's you and your sisters and brothers at your daddy's old store.
And that little dog, I remember her. Her name was Bobby, and she was a deer dog, a squirrel dog, and she was just really a part of our family. And she was a good dog, good-natured dog until she had puppies, and then you had to stand back. But yeah, that's the old Bart's Root Beer Sign. I had forgot about that picture.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures in the book because it depicted an era, you know, where the old service station was sort of the hub of the community. As far as your dad had that, it was right on the corner of Highway 79 and where the airport road comes out now.
Yeah, that was actually the second store that my dad and mother built. The original store was just a one-room store, store about I guess 15 feet wide and 30 feet long. Mm-hmm. And my dad told me that he killed $50 worth of alligator hides and sold them, and he built that store and put the groceries in it. Mm-hmm. And let's see, I think it's been upgraded about 4 times, and there's a big service station all there, right on the corner of 79 and Highway 388. I guess one of my big responsibilities there well, he kept a big pen of alligators, and you had a permit to keep so many. Mm-hmm. And truthfully, sometimes he swapped them out. Yeah. As long as he didn't go over the limit. And my job was to entertain the guests that would stop by. It was kind of a drawing card. People would look forward to coming down, stopping before they went to the beach, seeing the alligators, and throwing cans and sticks and stuff in there.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I really got started with my charter business.
You were entertained, talking about the gators and all the people listening to you and everything.
Yeah.
They like that.
Well, I had a little sign that I had on the side of that gator pen saying fishing guide. I guide in the bay or go to the river freshwater fishing. I think I charged $1. And I had a 16-foot, it was an old net skiff. And it had a certain time cup in there to bail the water out of it. It leaked like a sieve. And a 3 8/10 horsepower Champion motor on it. And I took them out in the bay for $1.
Yeah.
And of course we fished then with cane poles. That's what we fished a speckled trout, and a big old cork on it. And that was, I guess I was 10, 12 years old. I was in grade school up there at West Bay when I started my charter business, but it brought in a little money.
Well, I know that we talked about that before, how you got started in that. And what did y'all use for bait back then?
I'd go out the afternoon before, go down to the bay and gather me up a handful of pennywinkles. That's little snails that grows on the grass. And I had a hammer and a brick bat in the boat, and a small pole with a small hook on it. And when I get out in the bay, or sometime right there where I had the boat launched, I'd catch me some panfish. Break those pennywinkles, and catch me some panfish, and cut the panfish up. And the bottom part of a pinfish is real bloody, and it was a good bait for speckled trout. But we actually fished a cut bait. Put a big piece of cut bait on it and throw it out there and pop the cork and make it look like a trout striking. And sometimes I'd take that old pole, just warp it on the water like that, and believe it or not, that was attract the trout.
You know, we talk about a lot of people fishing, all talking about being real quiet and all that, but I remember you talking about back then, we made all kind of noise and all to attract them. So you know, they see that cork popping out there, and they think there's a big minnow or something there for them. And I remember you talking about your dad was trapping those gators out there in that West Bay, between West Bay and the seaside area, and then all those ponds and little creeks back there. Your dad got a lot of gators, didn't he, at the time?
My daddy was a real outdoorsman. Coach, he could live out of the woods. And he's the only person I've ever known that could stalk turkeys feeding. And I could pick him out a young gobbler or something and shoot him. If I ever moved toward the turkey, I'd bump something and it'd scare them all off. But he was and he was an avid gator hunter, and he was a trapper back then too. He could live out of the woods. Now, my mother ran the grocery store and raised 5 kids, and my dad mostly stayed outside, and that was it. That was his life.
He'd get these big old holes too, and send one of y'all in there to run the gator off or something.
They. Sometimes we just catch one alive. If you have a good sized gator, and I think he had a permit maybe to keep a dozen alligators, and if we found one real big, it was a good tourist attraction. And I know we had one in there that was a little over 12 feet long, and those old gators. And let me tell you this about an alligator. They would feed, and we'd feed them till about the 1st of October. And they quit eating. I guess they can't digest. And it's usually the 1st of May before you could ever make one of them eat anything. But that was about part of my job, was to take care of the alligator and get in there. He would. He brought me up. He told me, he said, West, there's not but one thing in this woods that you need to be afraid of, and that's me.
That's good. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back with Captain Roy. Now, welcome back. Sitting here talking with Captain Roy Ray, long time, when I say a long time ago, about a couple generations, family here in West Bay and all, and when we first met, well, I was just so excited about talking to him and all, and we did a TV show for many years, and now he has his own TV show, and the big thing, though, we had you in the book, and to me, check it out in this picture right here, did a good article on Captain Roy, okay, and that's 2 big trout there, Roy.
Yeah, those pretty nice trout. You know, let me just throw this in about our TV experience. I filled in for Scott Lindsay. Scott got tired of it.
That's a good story.
Tom Najar was buying the time to start the show. So Tom really started this mess, and had Scott on there doing the outdoor. Did a good job, but he got tired of it.
Real quick.
And he gave me about a 3 weeks notice that July the 1st, I'm out of here. You better get somebody else. So Tom, he came to me. I didn't want to, but I told him I'd fill in for 1 month and give him a chance to get somebody to come in and take the show, because I'd been on there before with one of my friends, Jim Wilson, and it kind of interferes with your social life. You know, you got to be down there. Anyway, I stayed there till December the 1st, and Tom wanted to give up the time, the outdoor part of it, and wanted me to take it over. I told him no. The TV station, she called me there and wanted me to keep the show because it had good ratings. Now, I don't talk about ratings. I don't put much confidence in them. But anyway, they said, please stay on. I said, well, give me time to think about it. So I thought about Coach Chester, and he was a good Christian man and liked the outdoors. And so I went with him. He had written the book that time.
Yeah, we started talking about the book and the history of it, and the fishing and the book and all, and that's how it sort of evolved from that.
So I called him, I went to him, and I was kind of hoping he'd say no, but I asked him if he was interested in co-hosting the TV show.
Yeah.
So we stayed there about 5 more years.
Had a great time, had a great show, had a lot of good guests, and a lot of good video, and a lot of good times and all. So that was our roots. That's how we both ended up like this. And it's and your own show now. You're on every Saturday morning.
I'm on Channel 13 in Panama City at 5 a.m. Have to get up early, but I don't have to get up and do it that day.
Well, see, now, just show you how Roy's smarter than me. I do this 5 days a week. He only does it 1 day a week. I'm gonna get that one day. I promise. This 5 days a week.
See, he makes all the money now.
Okay, well, listen.
But I'm also in Dothan. If you're up that way, we come on Fox up there in Dothan. It's on the Fox station at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Okay.
And got a lot of friends up there.
Now, when it comes to speckled trout fishing, there's no one. I will say this unequivocally: there's no one that I know of, or anyone else knows of in this area that knows as much about speckled trout fishing as Captain Roy Ray. Let's talk about the history of it. I know you worked for a telephone company for 30 years, but you always fished during that time too. But then you become a full-time guide.
Got a full-time job, but still had to eat.
So what were the really good years of speckled trout fishing, if you reflect back on it?
Okay, the best bay fishing, and again, I've done it all my life, was in the late 80s to mid 90s, after the net ban.
Okay.
And I've talked about taking people fishing out there in the bay, and I hardly ever caught anything over about 14 inches, 14 inches long, and because the net people caught them and sold them. But after the net ban, and really what put the redfish in the bay, in this bay was, I'm not sure of the year, but in the early 80s, they closed keeping the redfish for 5 years. The blackening redfish had got real popular over in New Orleans and in Louisiana, and they were just eating up the redfish. And they closed it for 5 years. After about the second year, they got aggravating. On full tide, you could go in one of these bayous and it was just full of redfish. I couldn't even speckled trout fish. And I'm really sorry to say that it's been depleted, the redfish population has. It's not, we've still got redfish, but not like we had them at one time. And I really didn't like it when they increased the bag limit to keep 2.
Yeah.
They're good game fish, and catch them, release them. And but anyway, I'm going to take it over. You just go tell me what you go
to. They hear me today. I want to hear to you today.
Really,
you caught big trout almost on a regular basis back though.
Back in them days, I could average catching at least 1 5-pound speckled trout. And this is in, like I said, in the late 80s to maybe the mid 90s. I catch 1 to 2 5-pound speckled trout trip, and a redfish or 2, but a little worse, a little hard. I think I was my own worst enemy. I introduced people to summer speckled trout fishing when I was a kid, and probably when you came, all the speckled trout fishing was in the wintertime. And I made the Ray spec rig, and that's another story. We probably don't have time to go into it. And to sell it, I need to get on television. So I went to captain school, got my license, and that's what I fished with a little Ray spec rig. I took a fella fishing last week, and he had on a cap. It was worn out. It was, but it was a Ray's spec special rig. One more spec hat.
Yeah.
He said I won that on a call-in when you was on the Red Holland show.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, that spec rig was special because I know I caught a lot of trout with it, and a lot of people have. And I've still got some in the packages, but you don't make it anymore, do you?
Don't make it anymore, Coach. I get calls on it all the time. No, I won't ever make it anymore, and it's kind of a hard jig to learn how to make.
Yeah.
And it was a feather jig, and the feathers were molded in the lead. The lead was molded around them, and you have to learn how to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not interested in it. It died one time. Louis Spink started making that jig. He lived over on the other side of Phillips End. And before he died, he gave everything to Dr. Owen Reese. And I buddied up with Dr. Reese because it would catch speckled trout. Now, my daddy introduced a way to fish it under a float. Louis, he made the jig to use as a trailer behind, trolling behind the lure. And my daddy found out that he could catch them under a popping float. So, I had to get my captain license before I could take people out and they charge them enough for gasoline to advertise my jig, show them that it would catch fish, and it would. I tried to find out just how many of those things we made a couple of years ago, and my wife and I sat down and we got all of our invoices, and we bought the hooks. There were number 4 hooks, and we bought them by the 1,000. And the best we could determine, I made about 20,000 of those things.
How about that?
And more at the time.
And they caught a lot of fish. Let's take our final break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Here with Captain Roy Ray, the king of the bay, we should call him. He knew a lot about, still knows a lot about fishing and all. Let's look at our fishing game forecast for today, brought to us by Mark Coward, Edgewater Beach Realty. 832-6000, our times this morning, 1:30 to 3:30, okay? But this afternoon, from basically 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock this afternoon, will be a good time to be on the water, and weather looks pretty good today and all. Roy, what's the difference fishing today than it was just 20 years ago, the bays and all?
Well, there's several things that has contributed. I don't know. I'll just tell you how the fishing was. I've got my own ideas, and everybody else has about what has happened. One thing, the Lord is making more people, and He don't have but just so much water and so many fish.
Good point.
To go around. Now, we're probably the worst enemy the fish have. But take into consideration of this one point, that fishing is the largest industry in Bay County. That's been proven.
Yeah.
The fishing, a man told me, said, I want you to get on the television, and I want you to really emphasize this flathead catfish tournament that they're having down at Bluntstown or someplace. He said they're eating all the brim up. I said, well, I'll agree and I disagree. If you want to know what's going with the fish, I said, you estimate the number of people that will be fishing on the full moon of May in the Apalachicola River from the bridge down to the bay. You probably got 4,000 or 5,000 boats in there. I wouldn't be surprised. If all of them catches the limit, and some of them will catch 2 limits, put them in their box, take them to the landing, go back and catch the limit again. That's what's going with our fish. It's people, I think. Of course.
And that's why, over the years, past 10 years or so, a lot of emphasis has been put on catch and release, especially on redfish, and that's helped the bays a lot too. We've sort of hung in there with the catch and release.
Catch and release.
And I tell people on the show, and we're the same way. If I'm gonna eat a fish now, and I love to eat fish, I'm gonna catch them that day and eat them that night or the next day, while they're fresh. But if I'm not gonna freeze into fish if I can help it.
I talk to people and they say, well, I went yesterday and I caught and I kept limiting speckled trout and this, that. I said, what did you want to do with them? He said, well, I got some neighbors down there. They've always got an excuse. No, they brought them home to show them off, didn't they? Hey, that's true. Catch them and release them. My brother and I do that fly fishing on the river. Sometimes I don't even keep a mess of fish, but catching those old big hand paints and throwing them, I think we catch the same one.
They keep coming back, huh? I believe that too.
But that's something that'll help our fishing if people can get educated to the fact that, hey, the Lord is still making more people, and they all like to go out there and fish and catch what you want, take home and clean. I don't want to clean over 8 or 10 brims if I catch them.
Well, that's a good mess right there for small group.
And I'd rather go to the market and buy my friend a mess of fish if he needs them and wants them and can't afford them and so forth. But catch them and release
Catch
them.
them. We really, a lot of people are doing that now, so that helps out a lot too. Now, the water clarity and all, right, let's speak about right now. You know,
Right
this week
now, it's as red as red wine.
I'm telling you, it's ugly, isn't it? But
You
you
know-
still catching some fish?
Some.
Okay.
Since the second week in July, we've had average about 2 days a week where you can have a pretty good day to go fishing. It was either raining and or wind blowing, and the bays are real red. As you see, these rivers are still high, and now they pump water into our bay. I want to go out there and see mullet jumping one more time. Now, yesterday I saw a few more mullet. Day before yesterday I went, and we caught one redfish and several nice trout. But I saw about a dozen mullet jumping, no birds diving. The basin just seemed like it's dead, but now it's getting better, and I believe it will continue to get better.
It's warming up too.
Yeah.
Where do you think the speckled trout going to be? How deep in the water do you think it's going to be about this time of year?
According to what you want to catch.
Yeah.
If you're going to catch a 5-pound trout now, you better get up in shallow water, one that's learned to get away from the porpoises. If you get put away 5 pounds. Now, a full moon in May, they'll start spawning. They'll spawn just like bluegill brim on every full moon through September. Then they spawn in 4 and 5 feet of water. They like spotted ground. This year, they may have to spawn on sand because we're losing a lot of grass in the bay.
That's my next question. We don't have time to get into it. I mean, you're going to come back and be on the show again, but we are losing a lot of grass.
We are.
What do you think's causing that?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I got my own opinion. I think it's pollution.
Yeah. A lot of people.
Fertilizer and stuff running into the bay and stuff. I don't know.
Well, we're going to have to start wrapping things up, Roy. I appreciate you getting up and coming on the show this morning. Thank you so much.
You're gonna have to repay me now.
I will.
It's hard sometimes to find something to fish, fishing all to show film. So.
And we'll have to go fishing again this summer when they get out of school.
You got it.
Sounds good, folks. Thank y'all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. We appreciate it. Thank Captain Roy for coming on. You do something good for somebody today, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.